We're live. We're recording. Okay, first couple things I don't want you to write down. I just want you to think about this. I have some important ideas for you here. Important idea number one is that hopefully you realize when it comes to the sine law, it's really easy to adapt the formula for sides and angles, right? If you are, keyboard. If you are looking at the side formula being this guy here, and then you say to yourself, oh, but I'm solving for an angle. So what do we do again? If we're going to solve for an angle, how do we change the formula around? We just flip it upside down. Ratios equal each other if you flip both sides of the equal sign into their fancy word reciprocals. Remember that word from back when you were doing fractions? So this is the same formula. And now the advantage of doing it this way is if, say, for example, I was looking for how big angle B was. Well, the thing I'm looking for is now in the numerator, so it just takes one step of cross-multiplying to solve it, or that way, whichever way the cross-multiply happens to work. Okay? So, with that in mind, we have to figure out a way to do the same thing for the cosine formula. And let me just erase all this, give myself some more room to work here. So the cosine formula looks like this, right? The cosine formula says, let's just use it for A. It's A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine of angle A, right? That was the formula we used in class on Friday and Thursday. What if I need to find angle A? What do I do here? All right, well, again, if this was a pre-calc class, I'd expect you can do what I'm about to do, which is rearrange the formula. It's not that hard. I ask myself, I say, self, how do I isolate this part of the formula? Well, I have to take away everything from the right side that isn't the cosine of angle A. So I could, well, right now these two things are adds, so I'm going to minus them from both sides of the equation. So now they're over here, and they're being minused. Then I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by this negative 2BC part. Right? Why am I dividing? Because these three things multiply the thing that I'm trying to isolate. So opposite operations of algebra says if you're trying to get rid of something in algebra, you undo what it's doing to the variable you're trying to solve. So cosine of angle A, oops, hang on. So the cosine of angle A is equal to A squared minus B squared minus C squared over negative 2BC. Now, the only problem with this formula is too many negatives. Why don't I actually just divide top and bottom of this equation by a negative? And that's and then I'll rewrite it this way, and this is our new formula. The cosine of angle A is B squared plus C squared. See, these two things become positives when you divide them by a negative. But this thing is a positive, so when you divide it by a negative, now it's a negative. And this is the way they'd give you the formula on the formula sheet for the exam. So let's write that down. Let's start with that. The formula that we are looking for, so we're on lesson 4. Can everybody write this down? The formula we are going to work with is the cosine of angle A is B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2 times B times C. So that's the formula, the way that it's given to you in the formula sheet. Now, once again, what if the angle you're looking for isn't angle A? How do we adapt this formula for something that's a different letter? We'll get to that in a minute. First thing we're doing is realizing, well, when do we use this formula? We use it when we're given all three sides. If you're given all three sides, you have to use the cosine law, and you have to use the angle version of the formula. It's like, well, why can't I use sine law? Why can't you use sine law? Because sine law only works when you know an angle across from a side. I don't know any of the angles. They didn't give me any of them. So I can't use sine law. Why can't I use cosine law the way we learned it last week? Because it's not arranged in the proper way. This is the same formula we did last week. It's just rearranged so that the cosine angle is on one side and all the other junk's on the other side. Okay, I think we're ready to start solving stuff. Let me get rid of these doodles I made here. All right, so let's solve. Oh, first of all, I guess we better label which side's which. Which side's side A? The 30, the 22, or the 18? That's always step one. If you can't figure out your way around the triangle, you're going to get stuck. It's the 18, correct. A is the 18. So which side is the B? The 22. So C is the 30. So solve for all missing angles. Okay, so let's write down the formula again. The more you write it down, the more you're going to remember it. Cosine of angle A is B squared plus C squared minus A squared all over 2 times B times C. Let's plug in the numbers. So what's side B? 22. What's side C? 30. What's side A? 18. All over 2 times 22 times 30. Now, before we start punching buttons, I want to point out something that hopefully you understand. Again, you don't have to write this down. Let me move over to some scrap paper here. Scrap screen. Suppose I had 6 divided by 3 times 2. What should that be? That should be 1, right? Because just look at it. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. Now, guys who are watching this video at home are just going to have to take my word for it. I don't feel like plugging in the camera. Camera's not working all that great anyway. But I will, actually, you know what? Maybe I will try to plug in the camera. Actually, why don't I just use this camera? I got an idea. I'm going to go to my video, and I'm going to add. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not going to work. I have an idea, but it's not going to work. I'm going to go to here. There we go. And then I'm going to make myself bigger. Spotlight my camera. Hang on a sec. I'm going to pause the video first. Unpause. We're recording again. Okay, so now that you're looking at my camera, I want to show you something. Where did I put the calculator? Calculator! There we go. And look, oh good, see this is what I was hoping. It's not backwards like it was last week when I was trying to use the document camera. Okay, so let's go back and see what I was trying to do. What I was trying to do was 6 divided by 3 times 2. All right, let's take a look at that. On my calculator, can you see that? Sort of. 6, oops, hang on, I guess I had a decimal there. Let's start over. 6 divided by 3 times, oh, that didn't work. I got to look at it while I do it. Yeah, you already see where this is going, right? Let's try this again. 6 divided by 3 times 2. What kind of an answer is this going to give me? That's a strange looking 1, isn't it? Why didn't it give me the right answer? Okay, that's all I wanted to show you. I just wanted to show you that the calculator can goof up if you don't know what you're doing. So, okay, I'm going to get rid of this capture device here. I'm going to minus this. There we go. And go back to input capture. There we go. There we go. Sweet. And, okay, there we go. Ah, there. Okay, so you just saw in the calculator that I punched in the buttons I punched in. Here, I'll write down the buttons that I punched in. I punched in the buttons 6 I punched the buttons 6 divided by 3 times 2. Did it give me a 1, which is what I know the answer is? It gave me a 4. Why did it give me a 4? What was wrong with the way I punched in the buttons? Yeah, see what the calculator thinks I wanted from those buttons is it thinks I wanted 6 divided by 3 times 2. Or if you like writing it over like this, it thinks I wanted 6 divided by 3 times 2. It had no idea that this 2 here had to multiply by this 3 first before dividing into the 6. How do I make that work? All right, some of you have already figured this out. I see some people punching buttons. What do I need? You've got a calculator with an over button. That's right, and that works. So if you have a calculator with an over button, great. You can type it in exactly like this. Most of us don't have that button. How do we fix this? What's missing here? You need a bracket. Put in a bracket there, and then at the end again, before you hit equals. Hang on, my pen's really glitching today. Put in brackets there, and this works just fine. So try that. On your calculator right now, see if you can do 6 divided by 3 times 2 with a bracket, and make sure that it gives you a 1, not a 4. And you're probably going, why on earth are you making us punch in something I can do in my head in 2 seconds? Because if you can't do this, you won't be able to do the cosine law. So did it work? Some people here maybe have never used their brackets on their calculator ever. You kind of have to do this stuff. Did it work? Did you get a 1? All right, now go back over here and let's punch this in. So here's the buttons I would punch. You don't have to write this down if you don't want to. Here, I'll do it in a different color, so it's not really part of your notes. Here's the buttons I would punch. I would punch open a bracket. I would punch in 22. Please notice that that's the 2 and the 2. Don't go looking for a 22 button. You don't have one. And 22, I have an x squared button is my button that I would use. Plus 30 squared minus 18, and again that's the 1 and the 8 button, I'm just being lazy, squared, close brackets, then hit divide, and then you have to open a bracket. You have to tell your calculator, oh yeah, all 3 of these things have to get times together before you divide. Without a bracket, the calculator doesn't know you mean that. Okay? So this is 2 times 22 times 30. Then close brackets. Now, on some calculators, it's going to show a new answer, right? Boom, the screen changed as soon as I hit this button. But that's not the answer yet. That's just how much this denominator is. It's just telling you, oh, I closed the bracket and I calculated what's in the bracket for you. Thanks, calculator. But don't forget, you haven't done the divide till you hit equals. So do all that, and what do you get? You guys could just write the answer up here. I'm going to keep going down there. So punch all those buttons. I'll do the same. Open a bracket. Open a bracket. Did I put these in right? No, I didn't put these in right. Oh yeah, A is 18. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So 22 squared plus 30 squared minus 18 squared, close my bracket, divide, open a new bracket, 2 times 22 times 30. Close my bracket and hit equals. I get 0.80303 blah blah blah. Boy, that's a pretty skinny looking angle. I know it is a small angle, but 0.8 degrees? Oh, wait a minute. Look at the equation. Maybe I'll rewrite it. the cosine of angle A is this number I just found. Is that how many degrees angle A is? No, I've got one more step. What is it? I got to do the inverse cosine. And we've talked about how to do that from sine law, right? If you have the kind of calculator where whatever's on the screen it will do an operation to right now, you can just hit inverse cos or shift cos. I have to hit shift cosine, and I have to make sure I'm in degrees. And then I have to hit my answer button. Now for me, my answer button, here, once again, I'll write down the actual buttons I punch. So I hit a button that says second function. I have this kind of calculator if you're wondering. And then I hit the cosine button because the shift of it is cos -1 up there. And then I hit a button on my calculator that says alpha. Now you might not need to do this. You might just have an answer button. And then I hit the equals button because above the equals button in the same color as this alpha, it says answer. Some of you, instead of these two buttons, you just type in answer. And some of you don't have to type in anything. Some of you, this entire step takes care of itself. One way or the other, you should get, does it say where to round? Nope, so 36.58 degrees. So angle A is 36.58 degrees. Did anybody not get that on their calculator? Let me know. So the calculators are working for everybody? You're punching buttons, it's working? Okay, now I wrote really big because, I want you to be able to see from your desks. Hopefully you guys wrote a little bit smaller and you still have room on that page to do angle B. If not, you could always turn the page over. But we have to do angle B now. So we just found out, let's go back to the picture. We just found out that angle A is, what did we just say? 36.58 degrees. Let's find angle B. And let's use the same formula. We just have to rearrange it. So hopefully you still have some room. I'm just gonna work after it. So the cosine of angle B is what? All right, so let me write down the cosine of angle A formula again. You don't have to write it down again. You have it on the page. Okay, look at this formula. What do you think is going to change about it if instead of this being an A, it's now a B? What do you think? Because this is the way they'd give you the formula sheet on the exam. They would not give you 3 different versions of the formula. They're only going to give you one and expect that you can change it. What? Well, it's going to be a big divide. The bottom's going to have a 2. You're going to have something squared plus something squared minus something squared. What goes in those 3 blanks? And then you're going to have 2 times something times something. What goes in the blanks? What order do you have to do it in? Notice that since this is angle A right here, this is where the A goes. And the other 2 sides fill in the other 2 blanks. So this would be the B here, and then the other 2 sides fill in the other 2 blanks. Does the logic of why the formula works that way make sense to you? It's just a pattern. If I wanted cosine of angle C, what do you think the formula would look like? The C would go over here. Come on, pen. The C would go over here. I'd have 2AB, and I'd have A squared plus B squared minus C squared. See how that works? If you can remember that the angle across from the side works like that, and the other ones just fill in the blanks, you'll never mess up this formula. All right, let's plug in the numbers. Cosine of angle B. Okay, what's side A again? Side A is 18. What's side C? Side C is 30. What's side B? 22. All over 2 times 18 times 30. All right. Punch buttons like trained monkeys. Oops. Bad monkey. Let's try that again. 18 squared plus 30 squared minus 22 squared. Close bracket, divide, open brackets. 2 times 18 times 30. Close my bracket and hit equals. I'm getting 0.68518 blah blah blah. So that means that angle B is the inverse cosine of that. And again, don't repunch this decimal. You don't have to. You can use your answer button, or if you have the kind of calculator that doesn't need it, it'll just do it for you. So shift cosine of my answer equals 46.75 degrees. I would never bother to use the cosine law for the other third angle. There's a much easier approach. What is it? I'm just going to use the 180 rule. So let's see, what was angle? So angle A plus angle B plus angle C should be 180. So what was angle A again? Angle A was 36.58. So 36.58 degrees plus, let me get rid of that scribble. No, it's not letting me do it. There we go. Plus, the one I just figured out, 46.75 degrees, plus angle C has to equal 180. That's as simple as algebra gets in this course. Add up those two and then subtract them from 180. So angle C would be 180 minus 36.58 and 46.75. Angle C is 96.67 degrees. And there we have it. All three angles that I didn't know before are solved. All right, that's the notes, that's the example. I'm going to stop my recording there, and we'll upload it. And thanks for watching. Anybody who was watching the video, come on. There we go.